before this was built, so I'm gonna give you guys a little backstory before we start on like the haunting and stuff like that, so you guys can know what the heck happened here before. So before the bridge was built, it was actually like built over Arroyo Seco, like which is in Pasadena. And before all of that, it was an indigenous like ground. So indigenous people would go there, they would die there. There was like a cemetery close to there of indigenous people, and you know what they say, when there's an indigenous cemetery, it's bound to be haunted. And like, I guess the land is also cursed, kind of. Then a couple miles down, like following the river, there's a place known as the Devil's Gate that basically has a rock that has like the profile of like the devil, like side profile of the devil. And there it's also haunted. But today we're going to talk about the bridge itself. Basically, the Devil's Gate is also known to be one of the 7 portals to hell in the world. Because you know there's 7 portals and there's like, yeah. So that's supposedly one. And people could go in there too, like it's open to the public, which is kind of weird, but all right. Back in the day, there was 3 people who went: Jack Parson, Alistair Crowley, and L. Ron Hubbard. I'm really bad with names. But they went to the Devil's Gate and decided to do a ritual
Oh boy.
to try to open like a gate to bring in the Antichrist. And I guess that's when all of it just kind of started like getting worse in the area, because back in the day it was, you know, indigenous people. There's the indigenous people there too, like, you know, bodies. So with all that, I guess like the place just got like super, super, super intense. I guess once they started like building the bridge, that's when it kind of like stirred up something. Because, you know, like when there's a haunted place or like a graveyard or whatever, if you start building over it, like it kind of starts bringing in more hauntings, stuff starts happening, you
Mhm.
know, because it's like you're stirring up like something that you really shouldn't. The first bridge was built in 1912,
Oh
but it
damn.
wasn't like a big bridge. It was just like a small bridge, like for people walking. So cars, or back in the day, horses couldn't go on it. It was just for people to walk over it, because they didn't want to go down down the hill and then go across the river and then go back up. Like they just wanted something to like cross over to get to the other side. So it was just a walking bridge. There was a really bad like storm there, and it ended up washing it away. So since it was so convenient, on August 1st of 1913, they began building a whole new bridge. And that's basically part of the one that we have now. When they were building it, part of the rumbling of the motor, like whatever equipment they were using, ended up making the bridge collapse. So most of the workers were able to leave and go to safety except for 3, which basically ended up falling down to like pretty high, because it's like 150 feet up. And basically one of them ended up like falling so hard into the concrete. Basically, it not even hard. It was just like barely poured concrete. So when he fell, he like basically went down. And they couldn't take him out of the concrete. So they say that his body's still in the concrete in the bridge. If you know, like the hit when he fell didn't kill him, like he suffered a lot. Because imagine, like, I mean, you're still like there and you can't breathe because, like, you know, your face is getting covered with concrete.
Mm.
So that must have been a really bad, really, really, really bad
Oh.
way to go. The first person who jumped off the bridge. After that, there was a bunch of death. This is the bridge at night. So this is the gate to hell. So you see right here, like, I don't know if you guys see my mouse kind of going around. Basically what they call like the devil's side profile. And then these doors are basically said to be like in there. That's where they do rituals and stuff like that. Satanic rituals and all of that. If you pay attention to like the rock formations and stuff like that, like you do see more than one. Like you see another one here. There's another one right here. There's like some sort of animal here. Like there's multiple. Like it's not just one face. Like you see multiple faces. This is like the thing, the front. Right at the beginning of the bridge, before you enter, either by foot or by car or whatever, it's like they have a big sign of prevention number. I won't say it, but the S prevention number, like basically telling you like, hey, there's other options, like call us, stuff like that. The first suicide was the guy that jumped off, the worker. After that, there was a lot more to follow. Basically, they went in there, and it happened on November 16th of 1919. It was a 70-year-old guy. His name was Smith Osgood. He drove to the bridge from Huntington Park to basically unalive himself. So he ended up walking up there. He saw a person that was also at the bridge. He ended up paying the guy to take a letter to the police that basically said, please telephone at once Gigi Wheat, Undertaker, Huntington Park, to send for my body and prepare for its cremation. I am about to leap from your beautiful Colorado Street Bridge. Farewell, beautiful Pasadena. I love you so well. The guy took the letter, and by the time that, the police arrived, like he had already taken his life. After that one, there was a lots more, sadly, taking their lives. During the Great Depression, the
Oh.
bridge is that's when it became famous. The Great Depression was like hard on everybody. They heard about the how fast or successful, and that's where they would go, to end it all. So during the Great Depression, 50 women ended up taking the fatal leap between 1920 and 1933. After a while, Pasadena ended up raising money to be able to put like high fences. At a certain point, I think it was like 6 feet tall enough to kind of like keep people out, but it still wasn't successful. I guess that's when the bridge basically became paranormal, became haunted.
Mhm.
I guess it started because of the whole like they built a bridge above, indigenous grounds, and where they would have a cemetery. So I think that's what started it all, like all the bad luck and all that stuff. They should have just put it somewhere else. But they say that they basically see a woman jumping from up the highest point. Like people from down, they see like a woman like kind of fall. Or they see orbs. They've seen like orbs and stuff like that. They hear baby crying, like a baby crying by the rocks, like at the bottom. They hear a man that says it's her fault, and they think that the ghost that says it's her fault is of a guy named Charles Wickelman, who drove himself and his wife to the very top of the bridge, and they basically ended up like fighting. He was trying to throw her over, and she was just like trying to like survive and stuff like that. Somehow she ended up getting like loose, and he ended up just like falling over the freaking bridge. And so I guess he's
Damn.
still mad at the fact that he couldn't kill her instead of, himself. The reason why he ended up doing it was because he found out that she was cheating. He ended up leaving a note saying, "Dear wife Ella, sorry I had to do this, but I couldn't stand any longer to see you go out with men and my children home alone. So you can have all the dance halls and boyfriends, as you can tell, but remember, you will get yours someday. So please show a little respect for yourself. God bless my children and make them happy." Another one of the ghosts that is heard there is of a weeping woman, but it's not like Llorona. Don't worry about that. It's a girl named Myrtle. She ended
You
up
mean
taking.
Myrtle?
So
Yes.
they hear a woman crying and they think that it's Myrtle because back in May 1st, 1937, Myrtle took herself and her 3-year-old all the way to Pasadena Bridge. And
Oh no.
basically, she ended up throwing the baby over first, and
Oh.
then she jumped herself. But the good thing is that there was like trees and bushes that were able to catch the baby. So the baby was like minor injuries. She lived,
Oh,
but
good.
Myrtle didn't. Myrtle ended
Yeah,
up like
fuck that bitch.
passing away. So they think that she's still like kind of like sad or crying and asking for her baby. I didn't put her baby's name out of respect, but like they like she asks for a baby and she cries.
Oh.
Well, the reason why she did that was because her baby daddy basically ended up cheating on her and ended up like leaving her to mend for herself, her child, and everything, like pay everything. And she ended up leaving her for, her mistress or whatever. And apparently the guy was the one who would pay a bunch of stuff. She found it hard, to pay bills and all of that stuff. The easiest way was to, do that. But she ended up leaving a note also saying that her name is Myrtle and then her address. They hear her crying. And the reason why they think it's her is because she's crying and she personally asks or says her child's name. So that's the only way that they think that it is her. Basically in the 2000s, Walter Garcia ended up breaking into his girlfriend's apartment and he ended up stabbing his girlfriend and his girlfriend's mom. And what the police went on a basically a chase. They ended up like doing a pursuit and he ended up leading them to the bridge where he ended up getting out and just he jumped. They report seeing like a guy figure, like a shadow, like in the middle of the road, and then when you get closer he disappears. They say that they see women, walking like in a gown. They've heard growls, so you know what that means. Demons.
Mm-mm. Mm-mm.
They've heard a bunch of people, well, like it's a popular bridge. A bunch of YouTubers go, they end up going to like investigate, take EVPs, a bunch of stuff. So in this one video, they have a EVP and they also have this. It's called the rampart. This little device,
With
it
the
like you
lights?
just yeah, you just set it down and then wherever the ghost is, it'll light on that direction. So you'll be able to see exactly where the ghost is. And then in the middle, there's a blue light that detects temperature drops. So throughout that whole deal, like it was just there, it was fine. And then they started asking like personal questions like, who are you? Are you good? Did you jump from here? Did you take your life here? Stuff like that. And then the rampart would it would react. And then at a certain point when it asked if it was a negative spirit, there was like a major temperature drop because like the blue light was on. And they ended up hearing hey or help me, or like they would hear people rumbling on the bushes, stuff like that. And they heard a growl, and that's when they kind of got scared. So this is another picture of the rampart. So this is like that it's on, and then right here there's like a little blue light, and then this indicates where the things are. And this thing is like the Mel from Ghost Hunter Corps. Instead of like red, it's blue. But
Mm-hmm.
yeah, there was no temperature. It was like at 000. And that never happens because I mean it has to pick up temperature, it has to pick
Yeah.
up something. But there was no temperature, and this specific thing just kept turning off. Like it just kept like turning off. It wouldn't turn back on. There were changes of batteries, and the same thing. Like it would be there for like 5-10 minutes, and it would like drain the battery, and it would turn off completely, and then the same thing. Um, Basically, there's a bunch of ghosts in there because almost all of their equipment ended up like dying at a certain point because
Damn.
they would, yeah, like they would have like little like their cameras, and then they would have like a light on top,
Mm-hmm.
and the light would keep dying, the camera would keep dying. And they would say like, yeah, this camera lasts up to an hour or more, and then right here it's like lasting 20 minutes the most.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, like it was a lot, it was a lot. So they end up saying that there has been 150 lives or more who like taken at that bridge, and the bridge at its highest point is 150 feet. Yeah, and they're like, I don't think it's a coincidence at this point.